We're joined in the studio by Rob Liddell, who had his DNA tested by a company he found advertising on the internet, and also by Brian Whitley, who's Managing Director of Genetic Health Limited, which is a genetic screening company based in Harley Street.
Let's start with you, Rob. I mean, you got yourself tested. I mean, why and what did you learn?
Well, I suppose I'm naturally curious by nature. I'm the sort of person who likes to know things rather than not know them. And I'm interested in the issues around this DNA testing. So I thought the only way really to understand it would be to experience it myself and see how I felt about doing it.
Right. And what is the actual test? What do you have to do?
So you swab your cheek. In this particular case, I did it with a firm called Decode Me, who are based in Iceland. Swab your cheek and you send off a sample in a package, wait 2 or 3 weeks, and you get an email that says your genetic risk summary is available, and in a password protected way you log on and view it.
Right. And so you viewed it. What did you find out?
I immediately went for those conditions, I suppose, that lurk in my family history, and felt a little bit of anticipation as I did that. I'd read a lot around the subject beforehand, so I knew that the sort of information I'd be getting was valuable, possibly, but lifestyle choices are much more important. So I knew not to give too much weight to the results that I found.
Okay.
But all in all, my results were pretty average.
Okay, so no terrible revelation?
Nothing, no.
Good.
Brian, it sounds like quite a good thing, getting this information, but what are the pitfalls of doing this?
Well, I think it's a bit like buyer beware. I think an individual who goes down this route needs to understand what they're taking on. There are some key issues. 2 of them that I can think of immediately is that this is difficult stuff to understand, and it's probably best that a doctor explains it to you, and the whole thing is probably best done through doctors who will consult with you afterwards. The second thing I think that people should be aware of is that they are giving their DNA out into the ether, out into the internet ether, and it may come back to haunt them one day.
In what way?
Well, like having your name all over the internet, technically your DNA would always be stored somewhere on the internet. And I think there should be safeguards to protect an individual's identity and this DNA data. Because later, your unborn children, for example, may well be connected with you via names and codes and sequences to your own DNA. So I think, fortunately in this country, the Lords Committee and the Human Genetics Commission are going to come up with some very good guidelines about how to protect the individual, both from the understanding of the data and the protection of the data.
Guidelines enough, though?
Well, I suspect it'll move quite quickly to legislation in this country. This country is very good at getting particularly medical legislation in place fast.
Rob, let me ask you, are you worried that your data is now going to be out there in cyberspace forever?
I suppose it's a consideration, certainly, but my data is also with my GP, and I would consider it to be pretty much as safe in that respect.
Well, what sort of safeguards do you think there should be over all of this, though?
Well, I can only say that the test was right for me because I thought I was psychologically robust enough to deal with the results when they came in. Right. And I'd read a lot around the subject. So I think there should be some safeguards that people who inappropriately take these tests should be
I think
given
it's
advice.
interesting that, Rob, you're a journalist, of course,
Yeah.
and as you say, you were robust enough to get the results of this. Brian, are people, apart from journalists, interested in this sort of information for themselves personally?
There's a huge interest, and we've been screening patients for over 5 years now with these genetic screens, and we find that it's generally been a very good experience for them. In fact, I'd say almost 100% it's been a good experience for them. It has empowered them. They do feel that they get to grips with who they are, gives them an inkling of their mortality, and 9 times out of 10 they change their lifestyle. And that's what it's all about, really, changing your lifestyle and seeing your risks and changing your lifestyle appropriately.
Rob, do you think, at the end of the day, do you think it's worth it? I mean, or would you be better off just going to have tests for, I don't know, whether you're going to have a heart attack or something?
I think it's worthwhile, and it's going to become more worthwhile as the tests become more accurate. And also, the coming down in price will mean that
I was about to ask, how much did
yes.
it cost you? Yeah.
Well, the test I took markets for around £500. It might have come down
cheap.
a little since then, but
Our tests,
Yeah.
a little bit more expensive, but you do have the enjoyment and privilege of having a doctor speak to you well before you take the test, and a good 1 hour's consultation
And
with a doctor.
confidentiality as well?
Absolutely. We destroy all DNA and all data afterwards. If we want more DNA, we'll ask the client for it.
Okay, Brian Whiteley, thank you very much indeed for that side of and Rob, of course, as well. Thank you very much, both of you, for
Thank you.
coming in. Thank you.